The strange symbols on the screen glowed blue against Dr. Hannah Park's tired face. She'd been staring at them for nearly 15 hours straight, and still couldn't make sense of what she was seeing. The genetic sequence she had discovered in her own DNA sample defied explanation. "This can't be right," she muttered, pushing her dark hair back. The lab felt too quiet despite the constant hum of machines. Hannah checked her results again. The sequence she had isolated appeared deliberately engineered, a complex pattern nestled within the human genome like a message. But according to her carbon dating, these modifications had been made millions of years ago, long before humanity had developed even basic tools, let alone genetic engineering. The door to her private lab slid open with a soft hiss. Tahoe entered, his four-eyed gaze immediately drawn to her workstation. The alien researcher was one of the few non-humans aboard Omega-7, with clearance to enter the genetic research wing. "You're here late," he said, his mandibles moving gently with each word. The scales along his neck shimmered with hints of purple and green under the bright lab lights. "I found something," Hannah said simply, gesturing to the display. Tahoe moved closer, all four eyes blinking in sequence as they adjusted to focus on the screen. His reaction was immediate and alarming. The purple hue drained from his scales, leaving them a sickly gray color. "Where did you find this?" he whispered, mandibles clicking rapidly, a sign of extreme stress in his species. "Human genome," Hannah replied, watching his reaction carefully. "My genome, specifically. I was running a personal screening for genetic markers linked to the novavirus and found this instead." Tahoe's clawed hand reached for the console, then stopped midair. "How long have you been researching this sequence?" 3 days. I've checked it against every known evolutionary model. It shouldn't exist, Tahoe. It looks designed, intentional." The alien's breathing quickened, a slight whistle escaping through his mandibles. "You need to stop this research immediately." His voice dropped even lower. "Delete your findings. Now." Hannah stood up, pushing her chair back. "What? Why would I?" The station's alarm system cut her off, its piercing wail making them both flinch. Red emergency lights began flashing throughout the lab. "Security breach in Sector 7. All personnel remain at stations," the automated system announced. Tahoe's scales flattened against his body. "They're already here. They must have been monitoring your research." "Who's here? What are you talking about?" Hannah demanded, but she already had her answer as the lab doors slid open. 6 armed guards in the distinctive silver-blue uniforms of the Galactic Council's Security Division entered the lab. Their weapons, pulse rifles capable of stunning or killing depending on the setting, were raised and ready. "Dr. Hannah Park," the lead officer announced, "by order of the Galactic High Council, your research is now classified as a Category 1 threat to galactic security. You are to surrender all data and submit to questioning." Hannah froze, her mind racing to understand what was happening. The Galactic Council rarely interfered with human research unless it involved weapons technology or dimensional manipulation. Her work was purely biological. Why would they care about an odd sequence in human DNA? Tahoe moved with surprising speed for his bulky frame. His clawed fingers flew across her console, initiating a data transfer protocol. The guards shouted for him to stop, their weapons tracking his movement. "What are you doing?" Hannah whispered urgently. "Saving your work, and possibly your life," Tahoe replied, his voice eerily calm now. "I'm sending it to a secure channel, one they can't trace." The lead guard fired a warning shot that sizzled past Tahoe's head, leaving a scorch mark on the wall. "Step away from the console." Tahoe finished the transfer and turned to face the guards. "It's done," he said to Hannah. Then louder, to the guards, "I submit to your authority." As 2 guards moved to restrain Tahoe, he leaned closer to Hannah. "They buried it for a reason, Hannah," he whispered urgently. "Find Jinwoo on Earth. He knows." "Jinwoo," Hannah repeated, confused. "Who is?" "Separate them," ordered the lead guard. Council protocol requires immediate isolation of all parties involved. As guards pulled them apart, Tahoe called out one last message. The sequence was locked away to protect us all, but it's also the only thing that might save us now. Hannah felt cold metal cuffs close around her wrists. Her mind raced with questions. Why would the Council care about human DNA? What danger could a genetic sequence possibly pose? And who was Jinwoo? The lead guard approached her, removing his helmet to reveal 4 eyes similar to Tahoe's, but with vertical pupils instead of horizontal ones. "Dr. Park," he said in a surprisingly gentle voice, "you have discovered something that has remained hidden for millions of years, something that changes everything we know about humans and their place in the galaxy." Hannah stared at him, defiant despite her fear. "It's just a genetic anomaly." The guard shook his head slowly. "No, doctor. It is much more than that. What you found is proof that humans are not what they appear to be. Your species was engineered, created for a specific purpose, and that purpose was terrible enough that the evidence was deliberately buried within your own genetic code." A chill ran down Hannah's spine as the guard leaned closer. "And now," he whispered, "the entire galaxy will soon know the truth about what humans really are." The escape had been messy. 3 hours ago, Hannah had been a prisoner aboard the Galactic Council's detention level. Now she sat in the co-pilot's seat of a stolen shuttle, watching Earth grow larger through the viewport. "Can you believe we actually made it?" Do-Yun asked, his hands moving confidently across the shuttle's controls. Her research assistant had surprised her with his piloting skills and his bravery in coming to her rescue. "Not really," Hannah admitted, still feeling the effects of adrenaline. The shuttle shuddered as they hit Earth's outer atmosphere, flames briefly licking at the edges of the viewport. Do-Yun adjusted their entry angle, his face lit by the glow of the control panel. "They're not following," he said, checking the scanners. "Yet." Hannah's hand went to her pocket, feeling the small data drive containing her findings. She had managed to recover a backup of her research during their escape, thanks to Tahoe's foresight in uploading it to a secure channel. "We need to find Professor Jinwoo," she said, remembering Tahoe's final words before the guards had separated them. "Who is he?" Do-Yun asked. "I don't know exactly, but Tahoe seemed to think he would understand what I found." They landed the shuttle in a remote area of the mountains, using the craft's cloaking technology to hide it from both Earth authorities and any Council ships that might come looking. Hannah used the shuttle's computer to search for information on scientists named Jinwoo. "Here," she said finally, "Professor Jinwoo Kim, retired geneticist, former head of the Human Genome Advanced Research Project. Where is he now?" "He has a private research facility in the mountains, not far from here, actually." The journey took them 6 hours on foot through dense forest and rocky terrain. Hannah's mind raced the entire time, trying to make sense of what the Council guard had told her. Humans engineered, created for some terrible purpose. The idea seemed absurd, yet the genetic sequence she had discovered was undeniably artificial. Professor Jinwoo's facility looked more like a luxury cabin than a laboratory. Solar panels glinted on the roof, and a small greenhouse extended from one side. As they approached, cameras tracked their movement. "I guess we just knock," Do-Yun said when they reached the front door. Before Hannah could respond, the door swung open. A man in his 70s stood in the entrance. His hair was completely white, his face deeply lined, but his eyes were sharp and alert. "Dr. Park," he said with a slight bow. "And this must be Do-Yun. I've been expecting you." Hannah and Do-Yun exchanged shocked glances. "How did you know who we are?" Hannah asked. Professor Jinwoo smiled. "The Council has been broadcasting your images to their agents for the past 12 hours. Besides, I've been monitoring unusual shuttle activity in this area. Please come in." The inside of the facility was a stark contrast to its rustic exterior. Advanced laboratory equipment filled most of the space, with holographic displays showing complex data streams. "I wondered when someone would find it," Jinwoo said as he examined the data from Hannah's drive. The sequence has been there all along, waiting to be discovered. What is it? Hannah asked. The guard said it proved humans were engineered. Jinwoo nodded gravely. 3 of my colleagues discovered similar anomalies over the years. All disappeared. After the second one, I realized what was happening and went into hiding. The council took them? Do-hyun asked. The council or others who fear what the truth might mean. There are many forces in the galaxy with a stake in keeping humanity ignorant of their origins. For the next several hours, Jinwoo guided them through analyzing the sequence more thoroughly. With his advanced equipment, they were able to decode sections Hannah hadn't been able to access on the station. It's incredible, Do-hyun whispered as new data filled the screens. These aren't just random genetic anomalies. They're instructions, dormant programming embedded in our DNA. It's like a program, Do-hyun continued, his eyes wide with wonder, waiting for the right input to activate. But activate what? Hannah asked. Jinwoo's expression darkened. That's the question that got my colleagues taken. An alarm suddenly blared from a monitoring station in the corner. Jinwoo moved quickly to check it. Galactic vessels entering Earth orbit, he announced. 7 of them. Too many to be a coincidence. They found us, Hannah said, her heart sinking. We need to move, Jinwoo said calmly. He pressed his palm against what appeared to be a normal section of wall. A hidden door slid open, revealing a narrow staircase. This way. The stairs led deep underground to a bunker that seemed designed to withstand anything from nuclear attack to orbital bombardment. The walls were lined with strange metal Hannah didn't recognize, and more advanced equipment filled the space. You've been preparing for this, she observed. For 20 years, Jinwoo confirmed. Ever since I first glimpsed a fragment of the sequence. Through a small window in the ceiling, they could see the night sky. Pinpoints of light that weren't stars began to appear, ships positioning themselves above the area. Why are they so afraid of this discovery? Do-hyun asked. What could be so dangerous about knowing our origins? Jinwoo looked at them both, his expression grave. The council isn't trying to keep a secret, he explained. They're terrified of what we might become. He turned to a large display showing the complete genetic sequence they had been analyzing. This code doesn't just tell us what we were. It contains instructions for what we could be. And if those instructions are activated, his voice trailed off. What happens if they're activated? Hannah asked. Jinwoo's eyes met hers. Then humanity becomes what we were designed to be. And according to everything I've learned, that's something so powerful that it frightens even the Galactic Council. Above them, the alien ships began their descent. The bunker beneath Jinwoo's facility became their world for the next 2 weeks. Outside, council ships patrolled the skies, but the strange metal lining the walls seemed to hide them from detection. In this underground sanctuary, they turned their focus to understanding the mysterious sequence hidden in human DNA. If we can activate just a small portion of the sequence in controlled conditions, Hannah suggested one morning, we might be able to see what it's designed to do. Jinwoo looked uncertain. It's risky. We have no idea what might happen. We have no choice, Do-hyun argued. The council won't stop hunting us. We need to understand what they're so afraid of. Their makeshift lab filled one corner of the bunker. Jinwoo had equipment that rivaled anything at the intergalactic research station, perhaps even surpassed it. Hannah wondered how an Earth scientist had acquired such advanced technology, but decided some questions were better left unasked. They began with tissue samples, small clusters of cells taken from their own bodies. Hannah developed a chemical compound that might serve as an activation catalyst, targeting the specific section of the sequence they believed was most stable. Ready? She asked, holding the dropper above their first sample. Jinwoo and Do-hyun nodded, their faces tense. Hannah added 3 drops of the catalyst to the sample dish. Nothing happened for several seconds. Then, the cells began to move. Not randomly, but with purpose, reorganizing themselves into patterns none of them had ever seen before. That's impossible, Jinwoo whispered, adjusting the microscope. "They're forming structures that don't match any known cellular organization." Hana checked the readings on their monitoring equipment. "The energy signature is unlike anything I've ever seen. It's almost as if..." "As if what?" Do-Yun asked. Hana's voice was filled with wonder. "They're manipulating gravitational fields on a cellular level. These structures are generating their own microgravity environments." For the next week, they repeated the experiment with variations, each time documenting new and impossible cellular behaviors. The activated cells could adjust their own temperature, generate small electromagnetic fields, and even appear to shift their own molecular structure. Their fifth test was meant to be the most ambitious. They had isolated what appeared to be a communication pathway in the sequence, a way for the activated cells to affect other cells around them. "This could be how the activation would spread through the body," Jinwoo explained. "If we can understand this, we might be able to control the process." The sample was ready. Hana carefully measured the catalyst, which they had refined to be more potent. As she moved the dropper toward the dish, the bunker shook slightly. Aftershocks from a storm above. Do-Yun reached out to steady the microscope. His hand bumped Hana's arm, and 3 drops of the catalyst splashed onto his exposed wrist. "No," Hana cried, but it was too late. The liquid absorbed instantly into his skin. Do-Yun looked at his wrist, then at Hana. "I'm sure it's fine. It probably needs to be injected directly to..." His words cut off as his eyes rolled back. He collapsed to the floor, body rigid. "Help me get him to the bed," Jinwoo shouted. They carried Do-Yun to the small cot in the corner. His skin burned hot to the touch, and strange patterns moved beneath it, like writing appearing and disappearing. "What's happening to him?" Hana asked, pressing a cool cloth to his forehead. Jinwoo checked Do-Yun's vital signs. "The sequence is activating throughout his body. His DNA is rewriting itself." For 3 days and nights, they took turns watching over Do-Yun. His fever burned so hot that it should have killed him, yet his heartbeat remained strong. Sometimes he would mutter words in languages neither of them recognized. Other times, objects near his bed would vibrate or move without being touched. On the morning of the 4th day, Hana was dozing in the chair beside Do-Yun's bed when she heard him speak. "Water," he said, his voice rough. Hana jumped up. "You're awake. How do you feel?" "Strange," Do-Yun said after drinking. "Different." He held up his hand, staring at it as if he'd never seen it before. "Be careful," Jinwoo warned, approaching the bed. "Your body has undergone significant changes. We don't know." Do-Yun reached for a metal instrument on the side table. As his fingers closed around it, the solid steel crumbled to powder. Hana gasped. Do-Yun looked equally shocked. "I barely touched it," he whispered. Over the next hours, they discovered that Do-Yun's transformation went far beyond physical strength. He could sense the molecular structure of objects around him. He could alter temperature with a thought. Most disturbing of all, he seemed able to manipulate the basic properties of matter itself. "I can feel everything," he said, eyes wide with wonder and fear. "The atoms, the spaces between them. I can shift them, rearrange them." To demonstrate, he touched the table. The wood briefly turned to liquid, then reformed as solid metal. "This is what the Council fears," Jinwoo said quietly. "Humans with abilities beyond any technology." That night, as Do-Yun finally slept, the bunker's communication system activated on its own. A message appeared on the main screen, transmitted through quantum channels that should have been impossible to access. "Who found us?" Hana asked, alarmed. "Not the Council," Jinwoo said, studying the signal pattern. "This is coming from a different source." The message was simple but chilling. "We know what you have discovered. We know what has awakened in your companion. We are a faction within the Council who believe the truth should not remain buried. Humans were not born. You were made. Weapons designed to end wars that nearly destroyed reality itself. And now, The enemy those weapons were created to fight has returned. We will contact you again. Be ready." The message ended, leaving Hana, Jinwoo, and the sleeping Do-yeon alone with a truth too vast to comprehend. Humans were weapons, and something in the galaxy needed those weapons to awaken. 3 days after the mysterious message, Do-yeon's abilities had grown stronger. He could now move objects without touching them, and even create small force fields that deflected bullets when Jinwoo tested them. "It's like the sequence is still activating, spreading through my system," Do-yeon explained while hovering a cup of tea in midair. "Every day I can do more." Hana monitored his cellular changes, amazed by how his body continued to transform. The dormant code in his DNA was awakening bit by bit, unlocking abilities that defied science as they knew it. Their bunker's alert system activated suddenly, breaking the tense quiet of their underground hideout. "Someone's approaching," Jinwoo said, checking the security screens. "But there's no ship, no vehicle. They just appeared." On the monitor, a single figure walked calmly toward the hidden entrance of their bunker. She looked human, a woman with long dark hair wearing simple white clothing. But the scanner showed energy readings unlike anything they had seen before. "She's not human," Hana whispered. "And she's not from the council either." "Should I try to stop her?" Do-yeon asked, his hands already glowing with strange energy. Jinwoo studied the monitor. "No, I think this is our mysterious messenger." When they opened the bunker door, the woman smiled at them. Up close, there was something subtly wrong about her appearance. Her movements were too fluid, her skin too perfect, her eyes too deep. "I am called Minji in this form," she said, her voice musical and strange. "May I enter?" Once inside, Minji's human disguise seemed to become less solid. Her edges blurred occasionally, and when she turned quickly, they caught glimpses of something else beneath the human exterior, something with more limbs and eyes that shone like distant stars. "You're not using technology to appear human," Hana realized. "You're actually changing your physical form." Minji nodded. "My people evolved beyond fixed biological structures long ago. We adapt as needed." "Why are you here?" Jinwoo asked directly. "To tell you the truth about human origins, and to warn you of what's coming." Minji looked at Do-yeon with special interest. "The awakening has begun in you. Faster than I expected." They gathered around the main table of the bunker. Minji placed a small crystal in the center, which projected images into the air. Strange worlds, beams of light and energy, and vast battles across space. Billions of years ago, the Ancient Ones fought a war across dimensions. Minji explained. The conflict threatened to unravel the very fabric of reality. The universe you know was nearly destroyed many times over. The images showed beings of pure energy clashing, tears appearing in space itself. One faction created humans as living weapons with the power to manipulate reality codified in their DNA, then deliberately suppressed it. They seeded early Earth with the first humans, embedding the weapon codes deep within your genetic structure where they would remain dormant until activated. "Weapon codes," Hana repeated. "That's what I found." "Yes. The sequence you discovered is one small part of it. The complete code gives humans the ability to restructure reality at the quantum level." "But why make us look so ordinary?" Do-yeon asked, looking at his hands. "Why not create obvious weapons?" "Because the best weapons are those the enemy doesn't recognize until it's too late," Minji said simply. Jinwoo leaned forward. "Why not just destroy us when the war ended? If we were created as weapons, why let us continue to exist?" "Some wanted to," Minji acknowledged. "Others believed you might be needed again." The debate split the Ancient Ones. Some became what you now call the Galactic Council, guardians who watch over developing worlds. Others, my people, chose to separate ourselves, believing that all life has the right to fulfill its potential. Minji's eyes seemed to shift, reflecting tiny points of light like stars. Your DNA contains the ability to restructure quantum reality, a power that terrifies even the most advanced civilizations. Many council members believe such power should never be unleashed again. And what do you believe? Hannah asked quietly. I believe choice matters. Humans should decide their own fate. But now, that choice might be taken from you. Minji's form flickered, briefly revealing a being of blue-white light with multiple appendages. The council detected your discovery, Hannah. But they're not alone. The opposers, enemies we thought defeated, have returned. The crystal projected new images. Dark ships and shadowy beings that seem to absorb light rather than reflect it. Who are they? Jinwoo asked. The other side in the ancient war. They seek to control fundamental forces, gravity, time, space itself. If they learn about the weapon codes in human DNA, they'll either harness humanity or destroy it. Why would they come back now, after billions of years? Hannah asked. Minji's expression darkened. Because something woke them. We believe it was your discovery, Hannah. When you found the sequence, it sent ripples through quantum fields the opposers still monitor. The crystal's projection suddenly flickered and died. Minji stood abruptly, her form becoming more solid, more human. They found us, she said urgently. Sooner than I expected. They rushed to the monitors. Outside, the night sky was filling with lights, dozens of them, too many to count, breaching Earth's atmosphere. Council ships? Jinwoo asked hopefully. Minji shook her head, her expression grim. No, the opposers. They're here for the weapon, for humanity. Do-hyun's hands began to glow with energy. Then we fight. You can't, Minji said, placing a hand on his arm. Not yet. Your abilities aren't fully awakened. Against them, you wouldn't stand a chance. Then what do we do? Hannah asked, watching in horror as more ships appeared. We need to activate the full sequence, not just in Do-hyun, but in as many humans as possible. It's the only way to face what's coming. You're talking about transforming the entire human race, Jinwoo said in shock. Minji's eyes met his. I'm talking about letting humans become what they were always meant to be. Outside, the first ships began to land. The night passed in frantic preparation. Minji helped them understand how to create a large-scale activation catalyst, while Jinwoo modified his lab equipment to produce it in quantity. Hannah worked to refine the formula based on what had happened with Do-hyun, trying to make the transition safer and more controlled. Will it hurt them? She asked, thinking of billions of humans suddenly experiencing what Do-hyun had gone through. Yes, Minji answered honestly, but the alternative is worse. By morning, the skies above Earth had darkened with ships. News channels worldwide reported strange craft appearing over major cities. Panic spread as the first attacks began, not with weapons, but with a strange energy field that disabled all electronics within its reach. Do-hyun stood on the mountain ridge outside the bunker, watching distant explosions light up the horizon. The changes had spread throughout his body now, his skin occasionally rippling with energy like light moving underwater. I can feel others awakening, he said when Hannah joined him. Not many, but some. People with genetic markers similar to ours. How is that possible? We haven't released the catalyst yet. I think it's me, he said quietly. Somehow, I'm triggering changes in people who are genetically receptive, even at this distance. Hannah's mind raced. Back in the lab, she quickly analyzed Do-hyun's blood samples again. The results confirmed her suspicion. The activation is contagious between humans, she announced to the others. It's spreading like a beneficial virus. Do-hyun isn't just change, he's becoming a catalyst himself. That's how it was designed to work, Minji said. One activated human could awaken others, creating a chain reaction. It's an efficient deployment method for a weapon. Their planning was interrupted by the bunker's alarm. On the monitors, they saw ships landing nearby. Sleek silver craft bearing the Galactic Council insignia. Not the opposers, Jinwoo noted, but not friends either. They must have tracked Minji, Hannah said, or sensed Do-Yun's activation. Armed figures in council armor surrounded the bunker entrance. Their weapons looked capable of vaporizing the entire mountain. "They'll kill us all to prevent the activation from spreading," Minji warned. Do-Yun's expression hardened. "Let me talk to them." "It's too dangerous," Hannah protested. "Trust me," Do-Yun said, his eyes now glowing faintly. "I understand my abilities better now." Against their better judgment, they let him go. On the monitors, they watched as Do-Yun walked calmly toward the council forces. The soldiers immediately aimed their weapons at him. "Stop where you are, human," their leader called out. Do-Yun continued walking. When the first soldier fired, something remarkable happened. The energy blast stopped midair, suspended like a frozen flame. With a gentle gesture from Do-Yun, all their weapons simply disintegrated into dust. "I would like to speak with your commander," Do-Yun said calmly. Inside the bunker, Hannah released the breath she'd been holding. "He's stronger than we realized." Meanwhile, across the globe, something unexpected was happening. As the opposers' ships deployed their technology to disable Earth's defenses, humans near these ships began to change. The fear and danger triggered dormant genes, accelerating the very process the opposers had come to prevent. Reports flooded in from around the world, people manifesting strange abilities. Some controlled gravity, causing opposer ships to crash. Others manipulated matter or energy, disabling alien technology. But instead of chaos, a strange harmony emerged in these awakenings, as if the abilities came with inherent understanding of their purpose. Back at the bunker, the council commander had arrived to meet with Do-Yun. Minji insisted on joining them outside, with Hana and Jinwoo watching nervously from the entrance. "You don't understand what you're unleashing," the commander warned, his 4 eyes narrowed in concern. "Humans were created as weapons of mass destruction." "You're wrong," Do-Yun replied, "and I can prove it." Across the world, the pattern became clear. The awakened humans weren't attacking indiscriminately. They were specifically targeting the opposers' ships and technology, protecting civilians, working together with instinctive coordination. The council commander received urgent communications from his fleet. His expression shifted from anger to confusion as he listened. "Impossible," he muttered. "The human weapons are defending. We need to activate the full sequence, not just in Do-Yun, but in as many humans as possible. It's the only way to face what's coming." "You're talking about transforming the entire human race," Jinwoo said in shock. Minji's eyes met his. "I'm talking about letting humans become what they were always meant to be." Outside, the first ships began to land. The night passed in frantic preparation. Minji helped them understand how to create a large-scale activation catalyst, while Jinwoo modified his lab equipment to produce it in quantity. Hana worked to refine the formula based on what had happened with Do-Yun, trying to make the transition safer and more controlled. "Will it hurt them?" she asked, thinking of billions of humans suddenly experiencing what Do-Yun had gone through. "Yes," Minji answered honestly, "but the alternative is worse." By morning, the skies above Earth had darkened with ships. News channels worldwide reported strange craft appearing over major cities. Panic spread as the first attacks began, not with weapons, but with a strange energy field that disabled all electronics within its reach. Do-Yun stood on the mountain ridge outside the bunker, watching distant explosions light up the horizon. The changes had spread throughout his body now, his skin occasionally rippling with energy like light moving underwater. "I can feel others awakening," he said when Hana joined him. "Not many, but some. People with genetic markers similar to ours." "How is that possible? We haven't released the catalyst yet." "I think it's me," he said quietly. "Somehow, I'm triggering changes in people who are genetically receptive, even at this distance." Hannah's mind raced. Back in the lab, she quickly analyzed Do-Yun's blood samples again. The results confirmed her suspicion. "The activation is contagious between humans," she announced to the others. It's spreading like a beneficial virus. Do-hyun isn't just change. He's becoming a catalyst himself. That's how it was designed to work, Minji said. One activated human could awaken others, creating a chain reaction. It's an efficient deployment method for a weapon. Their planning was interrupted by the bunker's alarm. On the monitors, they saw ships landing nearby. Sleek silver craft bearing the Galactic Council insignia. Not the opposers, Jinwoo noted. But not friends either. They must have tracked Minji, Hana said, or sensed Do-hyun's activation. Armed figures in council armor surrounded the bunker entrance. Their weapons looked capable of vaporizing the entire mountain. They'll kill us all to prevent the activation from spreading, Minji warned. Do-hyun's expression hardened. Let me talk to them. It's too dangerous, Hana protested. Trust me, Do-hyun said, his eyes now glowing faintly. I understand my abilities better now. Against their better judgment, they let him go. On the monitors, they watched as Do-hyun walked calmly toward the council forces. The soldiers immediately aimed their weapons at him. Stop where you are, human, their leader called out. Do-hyun continued walking. When the first soldier fired, something remarkable happened. The energy blast stopped mid-air, suspended like a frozen flame. With a gentle gesture from Do-hyun, all their weapons simply disintegrated into dust. I would like to speak with your commander, Do-hyun said calmly. Inside the bunker, Hana released the breath she'd been holding. He's stronger than we realized. Meanwhile, across the globe, something unexpected was happening. As the opposers' ships deployed their technology to disable Earth's defenses, humans near these ships began to change. The fear and danger triggered dormant genes, accelerating the very process the opposers had come to prevent. Reports flooded in from around the world. People manifesting strange abilities. Some controlled gravity, causing opposer ships to crash. Others manipulated matter or energy, disabling alien technology. But instead of chaos, a strange harmony emerged in these awakenings, as if the abilities came with inherent understanding of their purpose. Back at the bunker, the council commander had arrived to meet with Do-hyun. Minji insisted on joining them outside, with Hana and Jinwoo watching nervously from the entrance. You don't understand what you're unleashing, the commander warned, his 4 eyes narrowed in concern. Humans were created as weapons of mass destruction. You're wrong, Do-hyun replied, and I can prove it. Across the world, the pattern became clear. The awakened humans weren't attacking indiscriminately. They were specifically targeting the opposers' ships and technology, protecting civilians, working together with instinctive coordination. The council commander received urgent communications from his fleet. His expression shifted from anger to confusion as he listened. Impossible, he muttered. The human weapons are defending. Hana stepped forward. The pieces had finally come together in her mind, the true purpose hidden in their DNA. You weren't created to destroy, she told the commander confidently. The Ancient Ones encoded not just power, but purpose. Humans weren't weapons of war. They were weapons against extinction, guardians designed to protect life itself. The commander studied the reports coming in from around the world, where awakened humans were successfully driving back the opposer forces. If what you say is true, he said slowly, then everything the council believes about humans is wrong. Not wrong, Minji interjected. Incomplete. The Ancient Ones created humans with the power to alter reality, yes. But they bound that power to an unbreakable drive to preserve and protect life. That's why the power remained dormant until life itself was threatened. The commander lowered his weapon. The council must know. This changes everything. In orbit, the opposer fleet began to retreat as more humans awakened, their combined power creating a defensive shield around the planet. Do-hyun smiled as he felt the connections forming. Millions of minds linked not by technology, but by shared purpose, the weapon code in their DNA finally fulfilling its intended function. It was never about destruction, he said softly. It was about protection. As dawn broke the following day, The last opposer ships fled the solar system. Earth had survived its first interstellar threat, not through traditional weapons or technology, but through the awakening of humanity's true nature. Council representatives arrived to formally open diplomatic relations with Earth. Humanity took its first steps into galactic society, feared yet respected, carrying a power buried for eons, not to protect the galaxy from humans, but to protect humans until they were ready to defend all life. Hannah stood with Do-Yun, watching the sun rise over a changed world. "What happens now?" she asked. Do-Yun's eyes gleamed with possibilities. "Now we become what we were always meant to be, not conquerors, not destroyers, but guardians." Across Earth, millions of awakened humans looked to the stars with new understanding. The secret in their DNA had been buried for a reason, and now the galaxy knew the truth. The end.